Mech Human Trials will be a role-playing action-adventure fighting game. For the majority of the time in the game, players will be experiencing Grand Theft Auto-style combat during regular fight encounters against smaller enemies. But when the player encounters a boss enemy, the game switches to a fighter-style game, similar to that of Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. When the genre style turns into a fighter, the role-playing aspect of the game will appear and become prominent during those scenarios. Though the player will be able to input different buttons to attack like a normal fighter, the level of the character will directly affect how difficult the battles will be. This type of role-playing system can be compared to games like Final Fantasy XIII and Borderlands. In total, there are 3 distinct genres that will be mixed within this game to create original gameplay. The idea behind this game style is that it would be a unique and exciting experience that hasn't been worked on before.
The struggle of good versus evil is a common theme in video games. In reality, seldom is a person or organization solely good or solely evil. Mech Human Trials will take this to the next logical step. Instead of an existential battle of good versus evil, the player must fight themselves and their urges to abuse the drug mech. The underlying theme of this struggle is what makes a person human. Since the drug enhances the person who uses it exponentially, the drug can be thought of as an enhancement drug similar to steroids. However, the effects of the drug are dramatic, with their entire body eventually being replaced with mechanical parts. It is up to the player to determine if their humanity is tied to their flesh and bone, or if it is something that transcends their physical form. The physicality of the transformation is also a recurring theme. The player will need to possess the mental fortitude to push past their limits, and sometimes their own moral boundaries, to pursue their goal. And mech may be a means to that end. To that end, the ends justify the means may be the philosophy the player embraces, despite the fact that they may be anti-mech. Additionally, drug abuse and its realities are a constant theme. The struggle with addiction and how it affects one's lives and relationships is key, not only to the narrative, but also to how the player sees themselves. The player has to choose if they can justify the uses of a drug that could permanently damage them in order to fight back against their oppressors, knowing that this may break their relationships apart and sabotage any future efforts altogether.
Dylan, a former drug addict, is thrown back into the game by the loss of his father. At his father's funeral, he's offered something new by a new dealer, someone he's never seen before. The dealer's presence at his father's funeral only slightly deters him from accepting the new drug he's being offered. The thing that Dylan couldn't let go of was how good the drug made him feel. It never made him feel like he needed it, only that he wanted it. The drug made him feel so good that he wanted to make himself feel better. So much so that he began to build his body, becoming stronger and faster than he had before. The dealer kept telling him he needed to slow down. The drug was new and the effects were still being determined. Dylan didn't care. He looked good. He'd never in his life looked as healthy and strong as he looked now. Shortly after his dealer's warning, Dylan began to crave it. No longer did he only want it, he needed it. The relationship had changed so much that he, even though he was still working out, began to show his use. His eyes began to deepen, and his breathing became shallow after a few steps. His arms became heavy. Soon, the skin on his arms began to crawl, and Dylan began to scratch. His skin came off, revealing metallic arms. Now, Dylan was in search of the dealer, who was now missing. Word around town was that the dealer received his daily schedule via messenger. Dylan stalked the streets. Every corner offered a new clue. Every street dealer gave something else. Dylan now had the schedule's whereabouts and followed them to the dark and dank alley where he waited. As soon as the messenger showed, Dylan destroyed the front tire, sending the messenger flying. Crushing the man's skull and collecting the schedule, he left the man bleeding in the alley. Soon he was at another junkie's deal, trying to figure out who he was. It wasn't long before he knew, by the way they were both reacting to some foreign element. Dylan came to in a mess of blood and 2 dead bodies. The third man was nowhere to be found, except for the blood trail. Following the trail led him to the dealer, hovering over the nearly dead man. He was saying something to him and holding something over the man. A light shone and something silver came from the other man's body. Once it turned off, the man's arms were nothing but bone. Now that the task was done, the dealer turned toward Dylan, smiled with an evil smile, and shot up into the sky. Boots ablaze in the same reflecting skin as Dylan's arms. Dylan couldn't process the information.
For the art direction of this game, our team felt a near-future setting would be the best way to define the player's experience. Our team will use the Maya program to create detailed, breathtaking scenes to ensnare the players. Many areas will display a futuristic scene with chrome and sleek curves to the architecture, while other areas will be decayed and in ruin. We will also be using the Blender program to capture the vision of Dylan and the enemies we'll be facing. Some places will portray mechanized environments that exhibit the consequences of abusing the mech drug. This contrast is critical to the theme and story of the game. We believe this will enhance the player's experience and immerse them in the game.
Audio is an important factor of mech human trials. With the use of voice actors, we will create characters that feel more human. Using city sounds, we will breathe life into a community of non-playable characters. With a living, breathing city, the player will feel more immersed into the world which we create. Background music will play a large part in the game. Each track will be hand-picked for the surrounding areas and story elements. We will create sections of the game that will fill the player with fear and dread. These sections will use tracks with a heavy electronic feel set in a minor key to create suspense. This would add an overall eerie sound to these sections. Some sections will have tracks that are fast-paced to get the player to feel the action that is taking place around them, while others will create a feel of hopelessness and despair. The use of these quality sounds will shape the player's experience and make the game more immersive.
The target platforms for Mech Human Trials will be Windows PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and will also include the newest generation of consoles, scheduled for future release. That includes PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox Project Scorpio. Since the new generation of consoles will be sharing games, it'll be an easy port and make our game available to even more players worldwide. The team's reasoning behind these platform choices is pretty simple. They offer the best graphical choices and the fastest computing power. Also, the size and scale of the online gaming networks will provide the perfect gaming experience for the player. These platforms are also regularly updated, and the availability of online digital purchases right off the dashboard will provide easy access to our game, Mech Human Trials. The proof is in the pudding. Currently this year, according to VGCharts.com, the PS4 has sold over 58 million units, Xbox One over 22 million, and PC over 9 million units sold globally. We could also offer an alpha and beta test for players who have pre-ordered the game. Games such as Call of Duty, Battlefield, and The Division have all benefited from having free alpha and beta tests for players, with early access going to the players who have pre-ordered these games. By letting the player access an early build of Mech Human Trials, our team could test server traffic, repair game bugs, and most importantly, discover what the player likes and dislikes about the game, thus providing great feedback for our dev team to discuss and implement into the game before the final launch. DLC content will be available for all platforms with no exclusive content. This will provide the best possible gaming experience for all players, regardless of their choice in console or PC. Our primary goal is to reach as many consumers as possible, ensuring that no one feels left behind because they play video games on a specific console or gaming PC. Mech Human Trials should be shared to all gamers who love video games as much as we do.